You're listening to Mentoring Developers. So how do you rate your training or mentorship program? Is it working out really well?
It works out well. Yeah, I think we do a good job of helping people get their feet under them when they get started, but we're constantly trying to improve. And there are times where we definitely mess up. Somebody's having trouble and no one knows because we weren't asking the right questions. I'd love to have like a roadmap where we could say, this is how we do mentoring, and here's how we know, here are the key metrics that tell us that it's been successful. But I just don't know if that exists. So is
it organized? Is it a process where somebody comes in and they have a little bit of experience, but not deep experience, and they go through this curriculum every week or every month or every day? They do certain things, and then there's somebody assigned to them that, reviews their work, and they graduate, and then they get on a project. Is it like that, or is it just something on the side? You start working on a project, and if you need help, then you go to that person.
Sort of both. So there's definitely, and I think this is valuable. We have somebody who's generally not on your project team who is formally assigned to kind of check in on you and make sure you're doing well. And that can be really useful if there's problems on the project team, to have somebody who is consistent. And our people work on different projects, and they move from client to client. And it's good to have a consistent person who, weekly or monthly is checking in on them, and maybe getting lunch in person once a month, but checking in via email regularly. That's valuable because it's consistent over time. And that's formal. But then also the team leads on the projects they're on have a formal responsibility to help them grow. And we pick people who are who are interested in that and good at that to be those leads. So I think it's not a simple, we don't have one program for it. We have a general acknowledgement that it's important, and then we kind of attack mentoring from a bunch of different angles. And then, when people are struggling with something on a case-by-case basis, we kind of figure out what special treatment they need. They might get, if somebody's really struggling with something, we might assign somebody to coach them on that particular. It might be, books or training we need to purchase, and they focus on that. Or just, awareness that they need to have of something, and then we check in on them. But that a lot of times varies by what their challenges are.
So how do you rate your training or mentorship program? Is it working out really well?
It works out well. Yeah, I think we do a good job of helping people get their feet under them when they get started, but we're constantly trying to improve. And there are times where we definitely mess up. Somebody's having trouble and no one knows because we weren't asking the right questions. I'd love to have like a roadmap where we could say, this is how we do mentoring, and here's how we know, here are the key metrics that tell us that it's been successful. But I just don't know if that exists.
Yeah, it's kind of tough because this is a consulting environment. People need to be billable, and the time that's spent on mentoring somebody, that's not billable. So it has to be built into the compensation somehow, or the bottom line. It's a tough decision in some ways, but I want to get a feeling from you if you think as an organization that you believe that this is worth it.
Oh yeah, I'll give you an example. And you may have been thinking about along these lines earlier. So we hire college grads, so brand new in their career. They've been through good internships. Maybe they have some good work experience, but other than those internships, they're starting out brand new. And we're a consulting company, so yeah, most of the time we're trying to be on site, billing clients because we like to get our paychecks too, and that's how you pay the bills. But for the first 3 weeks that they join, because they're so green and they haven't experienced so many things, they go through a boot camp, and we pull in senior people from across our organization to teach classes, some of them technical, some of them about soft skills or professionalism. The sales team talks about how we even sell software. And they go through effectively like 12-hour days for 3 weeks to really just flood them with information. And we don't expect them at the end of that to be an expert in anything, technical or non, but we expose them to so many different concepts so that when they run into something, when they're on a team, they've seen it before. They maybe know what questions to ask. They know what our priorities are. Like we call them our like principles of consulting. The things that matter are treating customers well and working together as a team. So we kind of flood them with this information first, and then we kind of help nurture them as they get their feet under them on a client site. So it's a mix. And from a business standpoint, that's expensive. It's a lot of time. We're pulling people off projects to teach, but totally worth it too. And then, that doesn't end. Everyone, when they join a new organization, even if you're a senior person, you have to learn about that organization, right? Everyone has to have some mentoring, and everyone needs somebody to check in on them too, and to just talk through problems and that sort of thing.
That's a good point. I was wondering if you think, in your opinion, other companies also have these training programs. Is that a general case that every company that you go to, there will be somebody to hold your hand for a little bit, or you think you're an outlier?
I don't think it's on either end of the spectrum. They're definitely, even among our competitors, there's companies that do a really good job of that. There are definitely companies out there that don't. I was lucky. Pretty much everywhere I've worked, I've had awesome bosses who were willing to invest time and energy in me. But I've talked to other people who haven't. They get hired, they get thrown into a room somewhere, get told to build something, and no one checks in on them. I don't think it's necessarily unique to our industry. I think you have some places that have that culture of support and other places that don't. And I think the people who go to the places that have that culture they have a lot easier job, right? There's a lot of people helping them. You can be successful even if you're kind of just thrown into the pit, but it's a lot harder for you to do so.
Yeah, and some people will succeed and some people will struggle and eventually succeed. But the question, I guess, in my mind was, do they need to struggle to the degree that they do? Maybe they don't need to struggle so much, and maybe there's a better way. And I think what you're describing is a better way of onboarding a new employee, especially new developers, where they're not all alone, and if they don't understand something right away, or if they're not able to produce value right away, there's the feeling that the company should invest in them, and they're good people. They just need more guidance. Some people will need more than others, and that's fine.
Yeah, I think not every company has a culture of mentoring, but every company should. And I think even little things like we set expectations with people joining the team. We don't want you to bang your head against the wall for 2 hours trying to figure out a problem. Spend my rule of thumb on teams is, if you spend more than 15 minutes and you're making zero progress, you need to ask for help. And when you're new and you're starting out and you're afraid of looking dumb because maybe you have imposter syndrome and you don't feel like you should be there. You don't want to ask for help because you don't want to look like you don't know the answer. And so we tell our junior folks, hey, you're coming in as a brand new consultant right out of college. We expect there's a lot of things you don't know. We expect you to be asking questions, and if you don't, it's probably a problem. And we try to break that fear of asking for help and just letting them know what kind of our expectations are, and that there's help available for them. Because I think most of them maybe come through and they are kind of terrified of that, and so you'll realize they've sat for 8 hours and they've not done anything because they're afraid to ask for help. When in reality, you're expecting that, right? They're brand new. They haven't learned these things yet.
Thank you so much for listening.
For show notes and transcripts, visit us at mentoringdevelopers.com.